Hello, ghosts and goblins, girls and ghouls. It is I, Captain C, and welcome back to another Captain C's review, where the C stands for cinema, and that's how you know it's quality. But today, we are not just talking about a movie, we're talking about a TV special. This TV special belongs to none other than The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy is fan requested and viewer voted. You see, I, in my last video, mentioned a poll. You might be thinking, where was the poll? Where was the vote? I'll tell you where. It was on the Mr. Nerd's Neighborhood Facebook group. So by all means, mosey on down the street, past Coolville. It's right there. You can't miss it. Mr. Nerd's Neighborhood on Facebook. Join up, answer the questions, and you'll see me posting there regularly, including posting polls about the next thing I should review. Now, let's talk about the review. The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy wasn't always its own thing. It used to share a time slot with The Evil Con Carne, which was a show about a dictator whose brain was in a bear. Very complicated, very weird, and very strange, to say the least. And I digress. But today, we're going to be talking about the Halloween special, because a long time ago, Billy and Mandy couldn't be separated from Halloween. It was the thing to show around Halloween. It was great, fabulous. They used to host an entire thing where they would show back-to-back episodes of Billy and Mandy and Courage the Cowardly Dog show, starring Courage the Cowardly Dog. But this isn't about him. It's about Billy and Mandy. Show. What is this show? You're probably asking yourself. And, you probably should ask yourself that, because they haven't really shown the show in a while. But that's mostly due to the fact that the show was a little dark, and parents today probably couldn't handle it. Yeah, sure, why not? But, it took kids seriously, which was kind of the point, and I kind of miss shows that do that. That's a whole nother video that can be made about how TV shows today don't take kids seriously anymore. But I digress. Let's talk about the backstory of Billy and Mandy before we get to their special. Billy and Mandy starts out as two kids who are celebrating the birthday of their hamster. The hamster is turning 100. And of course, that means that the Grim Reaper must reap its soul. Mandy, being the mean-spirited little girl with no nose, decides to strike a deal with the Grim Reaper. If he wins, he gets the hamster souls, Billy's soul, and Mandy's soul. Well, that sounds like a done deal. If he loses, they become their best friend forever. What's the game? What game does the Grim Reaper choose to play for the lives of mortal beings? What game is so dark and evil that the very underworld quakes at its very utterance of its name? Limbo. Yes! Limbo! How low can you go? Limbo, yes. It, of course, is the most darkest and evil game of them all. Grim, of course, being the Grim Reaper, is a master at limbo. But Mandy plays a dirty trick and has the hamster attack the Grim Reaper, and he loses. So not only does the hamster get to live, but the Grim Reaper is now the best friend to a little mean-spirited girl and an idiot forever and ever. And that's the show. That's literally the premise of the show, and that's all you really need to know. And this show is made of hilarious characters. It has tons of visual humor, adult humor. It's got it all. The show was great. It was written perfectly. It was like lightning in a bottle. And I don't really see if they ever rebooted it for them to capture it again. Now, choosing which bit of Billy and Mandy review was very difficult. They have the Spider Queen episode movie. They have their own personal movie, the Oogie Boogie Quest for Horror's Hand. They even have a crossover special with the Kids Next Door called The Grim Adventures of the Kids Next Door, which is the greatest crossover. You think the Avengers shared universe is insane? You should watch this movie. Holy heck! But we're not talking about that. We're not talking about that movie. We could, but we're not. We're not going to talk about it because it's not Halloween themed, despite it actually having the Grim Reaper in it. But it's not Halloween themed, and there's also the Christmas special where the Grim Reaper saves Christmas. But we're not talking about it either because it's a Christmas special and this is Halloween, despite what all those stores say, alright? Some people need to read a calendar. It's October. It's spooky season. So let's talk about the Billy and Mandy's first Halloween special. Billy and Mandy's Jacked Up Halloween. How does the special start? Well, it starts as any normal thing would do. Billy, the idiot, is watching a scary movie when the door knocks. Someone knocks on the door. And it turns out to reveal it's Mandy, holding Grimm's head, being Hamlet, including Grimm saying, "To be or not to be, that is the question." Billy, not realizing it's Halloween, screams at them in fear. Then, once he realizes it's Halloween, he goes and dons on a costume dressed as the Grim Reaper, borrowing the actual Grim Reaper scythe for authenticity. Grim warns Billy that if the scythe falls into the wrong hands, and Billy, of course, cuts him off and tells him, "Oh, I know, if it falls into the wrong hands, it could open up a portal to the underworld, releasing all the souls of the damned, and causing a year of darkness and chaos throughout the universe." It is a hilarious moment because we all know how stupid Billy is. And having something that intelligent come out of his dumb mouth is hilarious. But I digress. We move on with the movie, and while they're trick-or-treating, they come across a very crotchety old woman who claims she doesn't have any candy. Oh, but she's got tons of candy back there. But she doesn't want to share with the children. Well, Mandy, being the mean-spirited girl that she is with no nose, decides that if she will not trick, she will not treat with us. She was given the option. She was given the option. You're all given the option when we knock on that door. Trick or treat. If you have no intention of giving a treat, then you must be tricked. Those are the rules. We all know it. You all agreed to it when you opened that door. So, Mandy tricks the old lady in a hilarious fashion using a giant fire hose. She was going to get the help of Erwin, the local nerd, but Erwin keeps choosing costumes that aren't very scary, and he has to keep going back and changing his costumes. The costumes that he used for this special consist of a mommy turtle, a princess, little Bo Peep who's lost his sheep. It's just not scary stuff. So Mandy keeps sending him back to get a scary costume, because Halloween is meant to be scary! Did I get you? But yeah. Then, as they're eating the spoils of their trickery, Billy asks the question, why does everyone trick on Halloween? And of course, Grim replies that it must be his fault. You see, they live in a town called Ennsville, and years ago in Ennsville, there was once a man named Jack, and Jack loved to play pranks on everyone. The only problem was that he always took it a joke too far. He didn't know when to stop. And eventually, the townspeople got angry with Jack. They were tired of his pranks, so they devised a prank of their own. They sent a present to the Ennsville Queen. And yes, Ennsville had a queen back then. Who's telling the story? You can't question it. So yes, they send a present to the queen. Now, the queen had no sense of humor, but she did love receiving gifts, especially when it was a can of nuts. You see where this is going. She opens up the can, and it's a bunch of snakes. It's a prank, it's a practical joke. And they signed it from Jack. Well, the Queen, outraged by this offense, sends the Black Knight to end Jack. And that is when the Grim Reaper comes onto the scene. 'Twas his time to go, but Jack refused to leave. The Grim Reaper underestimated his powers of a feather. Yes, Jack used a single feather to tickle the Grim Reaper into a hilarity of submission, and Jack got a hold of his scythe. He refused to give the scythe back to the Grim Reaper, unless Jack made a deal with the Grim Reaper. He'd return his scythe, but in return, he would give him immortality so he could play his pranks and tricks for all eternity. The Grim Reaper had no choice but to agree, so they did shake hands, and the deal was struck. But the Grim Reaper does not like being tricked, so he cut off his head. He swore that he would never be showing his face around there anymore, and sliced his head off. Jack then took a pumpkin and carved it and put it on his head, and now he wears it as a head, and every Halloween he comes out from his immortal slumber and plays tricks and pranks on all of Innsville. Yes, so that's why we trick or treat, and honestly, that's kind of funny. That's really cool. You know, so many people have tried to give Halloween a kind of stapled character, and I kind of like this one, you know, Jack-o'-lantern, you know, the man with no head, but with a jack-o'-lantern for a head that plays pranks and tricks on everyone on Halloween night. Ooh, I like it. But of course, Billy goes off on his own after telling this story, calling Grim a bunch of baloney. And he goes off and discovers a creepy house. And of course, it's the house of Jack-o'-lantern. You know, the guy from the story, because of course it is. Hilarity jokes ensue, and Billy reveals to Jack that the scythe is real. Because Jack-o'-lantern thinks, like, that phony scythe is just a phony scythe. And Billy, being insulted, goes, "Hey man, this is the real deal." Jack, realizing this, decides to take the scythe from him through the means of a hilarity feather. Billy then decides to go trick-or-treating with Jack, and Jack says, "Sure, as long as I can invite a few friends." He then rips a hole into the sky, releasing the spirits of the underworld, as ghosts and goblins and spirits alike possess a pumpkin patch, bringing jack-o'-lanterns to life, making it an army that will make Halloween last forever! And then they find Grim. It really is a cool sight and a really cool gag, with all the pumpkins taking over the town. And they, of course, find the Grim Reaper to get Jack's ultimate revenge. Because now his plan, now that he has an army of jack-o'-lanterns to make Halloween last forever, he is now going to cut the head off of the Grim Reaper. Hearing this, Billy calls him an idiot and says, "You stupid, the Grim Reaper's head comes off. Like so." And he starts doing it. And then Jack reveals, but any head cut off by the Grim Reaper's scythe stays off. And of course, it's up to Mandy to save the day. She then sets up an elaborate Home Alone-style booby trap, a variety of different pranks. Jack, being smarter than the average jack-o'-lantern, does not fall for any of these, and tells Mandy, he's like, what are you ridiculous? I'm not gonna fall for a bunch of whoopee cushions and hot sauce pies and catapults. I invented those tricks. Of course. Then, you hear in the night, stomping metal hooves and feet coming towards Jack. And he starts feeling fear because he sees the armor of the Black Knight. Oh, God, no! Come to find out, it's Erwin trying out another costume. Erwin then trips all of the pranks that Mandy had planned, and all of the pumpkins and all of the ghosts and monsters laugh themselves to death. Roger Rabbit style. It's great. Until eventually, Jack laughs himself so hard that he floats up back into the underworld. And thus, the day is saved thanks to Erwin's sheer stupidity. So yeah, that was the special. Was it hilarious? Yes. Do I recommend seeing it yourself? Most definitely. Well, that's the Halloween special. Hope you enjoyed it. Oh, you want more details on my opinions on it? Well, it's Billy and Mandy. You can't go wrong. Billy and Mandy have been a staple with Halloween for years. I binge watch this series every Halloween. It's great, and the fact that I get to share it with you people just makes it even better. So yeah, no, I love the special, and I look forward to reviewing more of Billy and Mandy's antics probably every year. So yeah, that's the special. I hate to break it to you, but that's supposed to be the end of the video. I don't have anything else for you. What? Oh, I see. You think I'm going to allude to my next review, don't you? Yes. Oh, you're disappointed in this review. No, I get it. You're disappointed. Because I haven't seen anything bad or scary. All I've done is review kitty stuff. Nothing to really make the blood curdle. Huh? Nothing to make the spine tingle. Nothing to make your skin pop into goosebumps, huh? Yeah, that's what it is, isn't it? You want me to review a scary movie, eh? Well, fine. We have 1 week left before Halloween comes. Therefore, I, as King of Halloween and the Captain, hereby decree that my next review will be of a slashing, terrifying horror movie.